On a roll today, kids. Let's get down started on video number 2. The reviews and the comparisons of 3 different styles of Bali-song. Your $30 bear. Didn't sound too bad, right? Sounded pretty much mechanically similar to the one I showed you in the last video. The Benchmade 51 Morpho. The third one I didn't get the chance. I've actually never gotten the chance to throw out there. So the new one in my collection, the Bradly Kimura 5. So, differences between these 3. Start with the low end of the spectrum, work our way up to the medium, and we'll get to my impression of the high end by comparison. In order for me, story time is basically what I'm going to say. This knife I bought to hold me over while I had to get this knife repaired, because I lost one of the springs to basic flipping when I first bought it. Still haven't Loctited it yet. Bought a blue box, and I'll occasionally tighten the screws every now and then as I go. So I bought the Bear here off of TrueSwords.com. There will be a link in the description below. They don't have one anymore, but it's still a wonderful site. You should check it out. It's got a nice fair action. $30 spectrum. You don't have a latch gate. If you can see any of these right here, the scratches, the dings, are all from it landing like this. And it gets hit with the blade, which, to the blade's credit, has not been chipped at all. It's actually the milled out style that the old 62 used to use, so no sandwich construction. It's just one piece that they cut out the indentations and everything out of, skeletonized. It uses 2 mushroom pins on each side. You know, you got a single tang pin, so there's nothing in here that stops it from rattling around. But when it's open, it's more or less still kind of wigglier because there's nothing else to stop it. Actually, not a lot of play in it. Being a $30 knife, that was kind of impressive. There's no spacers, so right here you should be able to see it. Damaged spots from where the handles and the blade have rubbed together. Real smooth, not a lot of wiggle to it when it's moving. Trainer for it, which I actually bought before I got either of them. Saw that coming a mile away. The camera. Midway spectrum. Bradly Kimura. First impressions, thought it was a little stiff. It's actually starting to loosen itself out a little bit, which I don't mind, even though some of the portions are still kind of heavy. That is all I can do, by the way, if you're wondering why do you should trick. Not a lot of play in the Kimura. It generally goes for around $80, $100 bucks. I cannot figure out which direction the camera's pointing. This does have a latch gate. The spear point blade is made with a short, so as the handle comes in and a latch, you actually get no touching here. But your handles will still interfere with each other during tricks. This one was purchased through Blade Ops, Blade HQ. Gonna have to find a link for them as well. Really recommend this knife, especially if you're not willing to spend the $150 to $229 that a 51's going to run you. My first high-end Bali-song knife before I got my Kimura. You get the modified crown spear point as opposed to a regular spear point the Kimura has. You actually get quite a bit of play with this one. Ha! With the spring latch, you do end up with a gate because it refuses to stay down. Makes it real nice and easy to open. And it just kind of flips. Like I said, I do recommend, if you have the ability, if you know where to get Loctite, never looked up online, should probably do that at some point. I recommend it for the handles alone. And these I'm starting to get a little bit of wear on, and they'll slide out occasionally. So I gotta do something about that. Between the 3 as a beginner, I'd actually recommend going to a $40, $30, $50 Bear, and then working your way up to a Kimura, and then eventually, if you have the ability to, grab a Benchmade. I really like this knife. kind of an all-around purpose, cutting paper, cardboard, whatever. Nothing too impressive about it as far as like a yard work knife style. If you do a lot of yard work, you do a lot of electrical work, if you do something heavy, I recommend going up to a black class instead of a blue anyway. Very, very close second. And I'm very happy with this as a third. I guess some differences. I already brought up the milled out construction here for the Bear, where you get the smooth you get the inner channels, so there's no blade exposed. Both the Kimura and the 51 use the sandwich construction, so you do have a little bit of blade exposure, but exposure, but not enough where you're going to cut yourself by running your finger along or cut anything. Neither of these two pocket clip. This one, Blade HQ did one of their forum guys makes Kydex neck sheets for this, so pops in, hangs down. The Benchmade 51 has pocket clip. I don't know if you can see mine, it's worn from being in my pocket so much. G10 stainless, whatever the hell they decided they wanted to make these handles out of, never looked it up. Blade impressions? For a metal I can't find any information on, or even a name, this little shit's a trucker. It's hit the handle at least 50 times. This thing looks like the grill on the front of a demolition derby truck. This looks like a brand new Prius. I hate the Prius. Really impressed with this knife, despite the fact that it was so cheap. My impressions of the Morpho? I'm not going to say I'm impressed by it. To the contrary, I was a little underwhelmed by it. The G10 doesn't stick out to me as much as the steel construction does. It's softer, so it's easier on your hands when you ricochet the handles. It goes quicker. You can do a lot smoother tricks with it when you start getting up into the speed. So because it's so light, because the downside if you're starting out, it's a bit hard to control simply because it's so light. D2 is always a good steel for a knife. Obviously, it's a use metal, not a show metal. It's nothing pretty about it. It's meant to do some harder work. When you start getting into conjunction with the construction style, though, with the Morpho, it's a bit hard to imagine it as an actual harder use knife. Kimura, phenomenal. If you don't want to risk the $30 to $40, definitely go up, save the $89, go to Blade HQ and grab yourself Kimura. That's really all I got on the subject of butterfly knives. They're fun. They're really fun. I've cut myself once. Pretty sure if the indication to be trying to do the horizontal rollover there with the trainer with any sign, I'm probably gonna have some fun with this later.